for December intake. Now you would be wondering why you should take advice from me. So I would like to tell you, I've attempted this paper 5 times. Now you would be thinking, I'm dumb, or I don't have the competency. No, actually what happened, initial time I was suffering, and the last paper also I gave, I always, there was some reason, some external factor which has affected my performance. But what it does was that I came to know how ACCA plan their paper, how their way of presenting questions. For example, if there, I'm been noticing a lot of trends of how questions are formed, whether they will be questioned on options, or it will they be AP, B or NPV, and how frequent they ask these questions. If you wish, you can always go to other channels. There's no such query, but with me, I would say that you'll get more experience in the term of someone who has given attempting a thing for more than a once. He always has more experience, more diversity. He knows what to not do, right? You could just see from that perspective. You should know that what you should not be doing, or you should learn from a mistake, right? That would also help you. It would help you better prepare for your APM, AFM, any paper you're attempting. It goes for all papers. It's not like that it's only for one paper. And the third thing, I've I've cleared my SBR UK version. It's more tougher than the international one. When you study UK laws, I scored somewhere around 69, and I also cleared SBL when it used to be 4 hours. That was like daunting for all of us, and but now they have that for I think 3 hours. So in this channel we're going to cover how to prepare for AFM, because see, that's the thing which we are aiming at. So let's get started. Moving ahead, so as you can see that the syllabus, it involves a lot of, as you know, ACCA syllabus is, as you can see, the amount of questions you have almost 87 questions, right? And it's not possible to complete all of them. The amount of time you have, if you need a good score, let's say above 60, above 70, that's a good score. And the problem with APM, other than other ACC exams, is that it's more you're supposed to analyze more stuff. You have to be very precise. If it's a rate, if it's a hedging rate, you cannot make mistakes on that, otherwise you are bound to get zero. Yeah, I know you'll get marking for steps, but eventually if your answer is wrong, you are most likely to go to a wrong row. So I don't think it's beneficial for you if to actually work and solve all 87 questions. Obviously if you have time, if you can make up by not doing certain things, but yeah, that is likely make you antisocial in life, because 87 questions, and I don't think 87 questions and you'll have 50 markers as well, right? So it's not that you can actually do, you won't be able to do more than 2-3 questions a day if I'm talking for 25 markers, and that after you have studied for at least a month. So given that a month, if you start studying now, it will take you by October end. If you study every day, that you can at least say that you will be able to pass. You know what the world of advanced financial management, you will be in that spot. But given that there will be lot of obstacles, there will be lot of things that might friend your journey to continue learning together, because believe me, there will be weekends, there will be whatnot, there will be events, so you need to prioritize your studies first. But still, the last 2 months, and given that the last month when you're preparing December, we can't count, because the paper is going to be in the first week, like, or I think it's like they follow this pattern. It's the first Monday they start with paper, and following that week you'll have papers. So instead of really better strategy for you, if you see here, as I told you, I have appeared for 5 papers, right? So the experience count, can you see here? I think that's why you clicked on the, you want to learn how, what's different, how they ask. So as you can see, I can make another video, a detailed video on what was the question and what was asked for every attempt. But right now I think it would be better to just get an overview on what's going onto the examiner's mind. That's very important, because we can understand what they want, what kind of questions they ask. I know it's not recommended, because yeah, you are supposed to learn everything. It's like I think it's unfair, because you, if following this advice, if it works really good, but you are not learning. I also wanted to learn, so my purpose is not making this video to not make you learn, make you lazy and finding shortcuts. No, that's not what it is. It's just for making life easier. If you are dedicated, if you know how things work, and you don't want to take extra stress, and you know how, you can just observe this pattern. I believe after solving some questions, and normally an accountant is better, is very good at analyzing things, especially this data. It's just maybe it help you in your paper as well. So as you can see, the first attempt, my June 2022, that time we didn't used to also have professional marks. It was introduced from September, so I think this one would be very inappropriate, because the question papers were designed in a way that was, I would say, easier, because there was no professional mark. They wanted you to pass. That's why there would be more questions that were more easier. It was not exactly on the point. You don't need to be that. I know, but it was still quite easier. There were a lot of options, right? But when it started with September 2022, because a lot of you don't understand that even though there are 20 professional marks, but getting them is very difficult task if you don't understand how, what they mean. Because we just think that 20 marks they'll give you, they don't distribute. It's not charity. If you think that something like that, so please get over it. It's not like that, right? So this is why I would say that is the only reason I think they have repeated NPV in the first and second attempt. Because after that, if you see, the moment they introduced the professional marks, there was not a single time that it was continued for two some simultaneous sessions, right? NPV came for September, then it was in the June, right? So they don't follow that, right? There's no fast, hard and fast rule that it would be like that. I know you would expect NPV, you would expect hedging, but what? You also want to have some idea, so you could prepare those topics better. You could just when we feel that I am confident that at least I can get 50 marks, right? And how will you get that confidence? By knowing what is going to be asked, right? I think just start by analyzing the examiner's report. As I've linked, there are a lot of examiner's report you can find here. I will link in the video, you'll find it. So what is examiner's report? Examiner's report is what they explain you how what you are supposed to do, right? It makes you what mistake you made. If you just look in examiner's report for this session, so this is the examiner's report, right? They will give you journal comment, what, right? What the examiner team format you. I think you already knew, like the journal comment. Candidates sometimes tend to struggle with questions relating to mergers and acquisition. So you could know what they think about the majority, right? Because whenever we talk about a question paper, it's made in view of the number of students who participating from all around the world. ACC is a global professional association. Therefore, I think they had to they are imperative to take into consideration the needs of other students appearing from other countries, and there will be lot whose first language is not English. Therefore, they have to be very sure that questions are asked for the purpose of making you more adapt and competent as an accountant, right? You So these are the kind of examiner's report. Their objective mainly is to tell you what did you did wrong, and how were you supposed to be expected to answer the question, right? This is how, this is what majorly it talks about. Just look at, there will be requirement, and then they tell you what, like this requirement asks candidate to compare shareholder wealth of both companies in term of the percentage change. So because I can just tell you that the reason why 90% of students they fail is because of not answering the question what was asked, and answering something what they felt was asked. There's a difference between two, right? You would think that that is unfair, if even if you're very close, you did everything right, but the point is they want you to prepare for working for an organization, for an entrepreneur, right? And you cannot disobey your manager's questions, right? Even if they ask you to provide a report only on the percentage change of a company XYZ of 2 years, you cannot be providing something else and just expect, because maybe you would be right but that was not asked. Understand, there's a difference. And these are similar things. You can, I would suggest you reading these first, you solve these paper and just take any question. You can just go on the CBE platform, it would really help you. Even if you can't do attempt, you can try doing it in bits and pieces. Try with a 25 marker if that makes you feel less overwhelmed. It's easier for you. And again, now we'll continue on analyzing this. So yeah, after my second attempt, as you can see, it was NPVs with real options, and there was also a change with now how we calculate using Black-Scholes model. Now we have a calculator, so that the chances of getting that question also reduces, because now we know that there's a calculator. So for you it's good, you can actually prepare it not a lot. Majorly you will be tested on analyzing that thing, that how that call value that you got, what does that mean, how will that add value, you should you take the project. It's more about judgment and not about calculation, right? So I am very less likely to see this question, and if it comes it would be not for more than 5 marks, that I can tell you. Business valuation is really tricky now, because the questions and the language use is getting very trickier because of professional marks. And you'll generally find hedging questions. Hedging question is one of those things that you are bound to find, even if, because that's another word. So there will be at least one question, so you cannot completely ignore. You can actually ignore NPV, because now they know with the features we have, it's actually not very difficult. It's more about the adjustments. Is it, we're dealing with a foreign country, so how do we manage that exchange rate calculation, or is it working capital? So NPV is more about these, about your TAD, about your depreciation, how, on what basis are you charging, is there a delay, is there or not. And yeah, so NPV, I would still suggest NPV is way easier. Then so you can actually dedicate more time on your on hedging, OTC instruments, like it could be options, future, forward. And like for this year I just realized one thing, that for like for my fifth attempt this year which we gave, you can see mixed question. Yeah, so the first question they talked, it had treasury function, but it was in a way that we had ZAC also, right? Could you imagine that? Could you have ever guessed that? Difficult, right? Because the question demanded you to calculate the WAC, and then there was a question on you have to justify that this is taking the geared capital of another company who's in the similar industry. Is it okay? Is it reliable? And something like that. And there was also questions on options, as well as so with option there was collar. Yeah, the collar is difficult if you don't understand it, as I didn't. So it's like very overwhelming, it's daunting, right? It's difficult because collar, it came I think only for 7 marks, but the problem is a question you find that it's only for 7 marks, but problem is the sub question. or the subsequent question, it would be related to that question, and if you don't know that, you are bound to lose 20 marks, and that's not a very good thing with AFM, because the passing rate are not too good. And so that's why you should at least solve 5 questions for caller and options, because they know that forward and futures are not that difficult. Futures, they make it might be, if we talk about interest rate, and when they when we are given to evaluate based on different edging questions. Theory is also very important. Theory, I would suggest you should practice more on Islamic finance. That's a topic which is not very unexplored, I think, and in future years, I think they might touch on that. And for the next attempt now, that thing you would also want to know. I think that now they've already asked, so I think NPV is going to come, because as you can see, there was no NPV question asked. The second question that was asked was like, it was very similar. I felt like I was giving APM exam, right? Because on APM you are supposed to evaluate a company, or a SBL. SBL, what we do is, if you have not given SBL, I like to enlighten you that with SBL we just evaluate a company. Evaluate a company in the sense that you evaluate the performance, where what they did, if they're doing everything right, and it's majorly on aligning with their mission. What is their mission? Most of all, the mission is shareholder wealth maximization. So we evaluate based on their performance. Are they actually making sure that the customers are satisfied? Their they don't have a lot of customer complaints. Their employees are motivated. There's no turnover. That's a good indicator. And all, it's about combining financial and non-financial factors, and then determining what is your company stands right now, right? So it was an easy question for me, because I have already have a lot of practice with that. So I think that there will be one of such questions which is easier, as you can see here. But the difficult one I felt was the third one, because we need to evaluate based on the value of a company, and it was, as business valuation and merger, when you try the percentage gain, right? And the problem is also time management. If you spend a lot of time on the first question, because what happened this time was, there were 4 or 5 requirements, right? And it was not, normally what happens with a NPV question, we can actually learn or memorize how to write that report. We know how to write for NPV, or we can actually create our own judgment based on the situation. It's more easier when you get a NPV question for the first time. It's very difficult, because for hedging, or maybe for VAT, or anything related to business valuation, you need to write a lot, and you need to actually justify. So that thing is, I think, more trickier than a tentative APV or APV, because those are standard questions you're supposed to get marked, but that's how it is. We can't do a lot. So I think that this was my this was my aim, to help you know how they actually make the paper, and what do they think. It's really important to understand. And if you find this video helpful, please like and share with your friends, and please subscribe our channel. There will be lot of more videos coming up, which talk about APV, and other other concept related to AFM, and also other papers. I think that it's really important that you start studying, or at least just reading every day. It won't for You should start reading at least for half an hour or 1 hour. Just start with a study kit, that would try to help you. And there's a lot of resources now with ACCA Study Hub. Actually, you can start doing a lot of things. So I think that's all for the video.